What's going on, guys? Bexio, and today we had a brand new video on plug power, diving into the technicals of plug, seeing if we can get a little bit more out of what might happen and how the long term looks, as well as a little bit of maybe volatility for the short term based off of these kind of global events and how they'll affect plug. But before we jump into that, if you're not subscribed, make sure to smash the sub button because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we can jump into Plug Power's price chart really quick just to kind of see where they're at. And we got a couple of things that we wanted. The two, basically three, but this was so close to the line. Candles inside this red zone, hoping for it to hold, but ultimately it didn't, and we broke under and are currently at actually 22.89. So we're breaking below this quite a bit, more than likely on the global fears, global recession fears, these massive things, things that are gonna be effective short term, and the stocks are gonna get hit first. Our stocks like Plug, considered risk stocks, they're not making any money yet, they're growing into that, and those are the stocks that are gonna get hit the hardest and the fastest. So even when we look at the side here, though, we see Plug down 2.74%, closer to something like Apple. It's not that volatile in this market where, I mean, tons of things are down much more than that. Even Disney is down over 3%. So it's not crazy for Plug. It actually is pretty good for Plug to be only down 2.74%. Whereas all these other blue chip stocks, Disney is down more, and Plug is supposed to be way more volatile than Disney. We also know Plug was making moves with their acquisitions that they had, and looking forward to the long-term profitability and revenue of the company. So short-term, things that are gonna control the stock are outside of its control. The global market, the macroeconomics, the war, the oil things going on, everything else is gonna have more control over Plug than really what Plug is doing themselves. And we can look at some of the technicals that we've been looking at for Plug Power and things like insider trading, seeing basically more buying is what we saw in December when the price was falling from $40, fell down to around $25, and that's where we saw some pretty good buying from insiders in the company. And then we see it kind of just flatlining here for from since basically January till today. So nothing really going on in stocks, nothing really even going on in insiders, but buying, and we're not seeing selling. Even if we zoom all the way back to March here of 2021, a year ago, we can see there's one sell, three total sales with a ton of buys: 18, 8, 8, and 1. So there's way more buys than sells. Great sign for the company. Insiders are bullish. They like the moves they're making. They're moving in the right direction. This is what you want to see from insiders: is a lot more buying, and in this case, no selling at all for basically almost up to a year. There's been 3 sales and way more buys. So this is exactly what you want to see from them. When insiders are bullish, it's a great sign that they actually believe in the company, believe in what they're doing, and see that the future can be amazing. The only interesting with Plug is that it is an energy stock. So if we can go back and look at, we see Plug obviously in the red, but these two other energy stocks, Chevron and Exxon, in oil are actually in the green. And this might be just a case of because oil's skyrocketing, these companies are. So I think maybe once we start to try and find other ways of energy, and hydrogen could be a thing for that, we could see people start to kind of go into this hydrogen market, kind of explore it, try and make it bigger. And Plug has a lot of plants in the US, so we could try and see if something like that happens and going towards alternatives instead of using oil, especially with the predicament oil's in right now, with Russia being a big supplier of oil. It'll just be something to see if it can actually happen, and if the hype does go from looking at these oil stocks as, wow, oil's at all-time highs, to looking at stocks like Plug Power and maybe even Tesla or something like that, where they don't need oil, so Plug doesn't run off oil, it runs off hydrogen. Maybe there's a lot more hype comes into this and saying hydrogen could do stuff that we can use right now that oil we want to lean off Russian oil. So maybe, that's a macro thing that could be a good thing, but only time will tell if it actually turns out to be that way. And Plug had their earnings. They actually didn't do too bad. They did pretty good. If we look at their earnings per share, we can see that it was estimated to lose 12 cents per share. They reported a loss of 0.33 cents, 33 cents per share, which is not bad. So we look at the year before, so February to February, and we see the massive amount of money they lost. I don't know what they did in February last year, but they were projected to lose 7 cents a share. They lost $1.12. That is crazy. But the most important numbers that came out of this earnings report is their revenue, and it is exactly what we wanted to see. So we have this continued increase in revenue. We have 71 million to 124 million to 143 million to 161 million dollars. So hopefully we continue seeing this uptrend, seeing them make more money, push the revenue higher, and continue getting to the profitability standpoint where we want to see them profitable in 2 years. That's the time target they have. Ideally, maybe even 2023, we see them get profitable. But the absolute, they have to be profitable is 2024. That's what they said in 2020. So we're going to make sure to keep an eye on 2024 and make sure they're heading towards that goal. Right now, the revenue looks pretty good, 71 million. Like we said, the staircase up. The only problem is the staircase down in earnings too. So they were losing much more money. Obviously, not what you want to do, but it would be a problem if they lost more money but didn't make more revenue. So we're in the right direction. Seeing them long term, I think they'll solve these kind of problems they're having with shipping and all these different types of things. They'll get their plants running. They'll start producing hydrogen, shipping out hydrogen, doing everything in-house in their own company. That's going to help them tremendously, and that should actually cut down on their wasted money. So hopefully we see that come. So we're going to be paying attention to their revenue, every single earnings, to make sure that we want it to be higher than the one before. And then once we see an inverse in earnings where the negative number goes down, so we see less of a loss, I think that'll be a major, major milestone for Plug. And just quickly to look at this, we can see the short float for Plug right here, 13.52%. That's pretty shorted. That's more shorted than it was before. It was around 12%. Now it's 13.5%. We're seeing the shorts go up. We obviously know most of this stuff is out of Plug's control. It's all about the global macroeconomics, all these things going on, instead of how Plug is acquiring companies. The long term looks really good. Their revenue is still growing. We're paying attention to the short term things, and that's just where the market is right now because it's extreme uncertainty. The market doesn't like that at all. So we just got to pay attention to this. The shorts, pretty high for Plug, usually even under 10% is where they were sitting before. 13.5 now, still not insane, but it's enough to maybe push the price down a bit. Although if we see some miracle happen where this global stuff, the war just comes to an end, there's peace, oil's fine, and we start to see the price go up, we could see shorts cover, and then that'll push the price up even higher. So maybe that's something we could see. Doubtful, but it is a possibility. And then the biggest problem outside of Plug's control for Plug's stock itself is the oil prices. We see this is the biggest problem, where you see these red circles where it's where oil crosses this certain price and starts to get basically over $100, and it is over $100 now. Oil is actually like 115. So you see these red circles every single time basically suggests the high probability right here of a recession. And in this case, we can see a global recession, which would be massive problems for everyone, the entire world involved. Financial markets would be in ruins. We would see lots and lots of problems, and we're actually crossing that right now. So big thing to keep an eye on and see if we see this reverse quickly. I mean, every single time it does reverse, but it still has a recession. So we'd probably want to see this reverse very quickly with a steep downturn. So it's maybe not a long recession. Hopefully that can be something and not actually be a massive recession. But in the face of a recession, Plug itself obviously is going to be hurt valuation wise. We're going to see people selling out. Plug's price is probably going to start dropping. And they're going to be one of the companies to really suffer from this because they're not profitable. They're a growth company. They're looking to the future. And unfortunately, very hard to look into the future if today there's a lot of problems. So that's where the market kind of is. That's going to do it for this video. Plug, I think, it's looking amazing long term. They're doing what we want to see, increasing revenue, pushing that up, and we'll keep an eye to see if earnings start to get an inverse where we get revenue going up and loss of earnings going down. That's what we'll keep our eye on now. But as always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in my next